When you are the only person running your business, now whether you have a team and staff working for you or not, it is so easy to get bogged down with the micro tasks and all the shiny objects that come your way. Lesson planning, emails, invoicing, props, costumes, recital venues, digital resources, and the list goes on and on. And sometimes before you know it, you don't even know what your long game is, right? And while all of those pieces are wonderful parts of your business, left unchecked, they can absolutely steal your time and focus away from your big ultimate goals. And so today, I wanted us to jump on and have a little chat about your business goals and how we keep sight of the long game inside your dance studio. Now, I will tell you here that I have been there, my friends, and I still even struggle with sometimes looking at, all those shiny objects, right? So, on this week's episode, we are going to dive in and we're going to define your long game and give you some tips and tricks to stay on track and stay focused, as well as sometimes help reframe those tasks and shiny objects. Because here's the deal. We have to keep our long game in sight. We absolutely have to keep it in sight. And so, if you guys are new here, I am Erin Burd, and I support dance studio owners and educators who want to grow their businesses by creating their own unique vision of success. You're not worried about what everybody else is doing. You want to create a studio that makes your heart sing and that serves you and your personal life as well, without burnout, without overwhelm, without sacrificing everything that's important to you outside your studio. And so if you're joining me, say, hey, Erin, what's up? Let me know that you're here. I always love to know who is with me when we come on and do our broadcasts every Wednesday. And if you come back in on the replay, which is okay as well, I want to know that too, because guess what? It gives me notifications. And so I need you to let us know in the comments, even if you come back in on the replay, #replay, let me know that you came in so I can come back in and we can have a conversation. Now, we do love to learn out loud here, because it does help us with a couple things, actually. So if, as we're going through this today, you have a moment that you're like, oh my gosh, that totally resonated with me, and you have a takeaway, I want you to just drop a #takeaway, because it helps solidify the idea that you have learned in a bigger way. So you're learning out loud, #takeaway, and it lets our community know, I need to think about that a little bit more. Okay, so like I said, today we're going to be talking about business goals, keeping your long game in sight in your studio. Now, let me know where you're coming from. I see y'all there, and that makes my heart so happy. But I'm going to start the conversation. Maybe. All right, so we are going to be talking about how to keep the long game in sight in your studio. Hey there. Hello, my sweet friend. I'm so glad that you are here. So let's talk about this. Because I have actually 5 things today. I came up with 5 things that I want us to really hone in on when we are talking about the long game, right? What's the long game? Now, we have to be able to identify what is your long game. And I could tell you this, what I do know is that it can change, because what your long game and what's your big why and your goals for starting your studio in the first place can be very different than 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, why you are doing things. And so I could tell you this topic's been on my mind quite a bit, because as I've had some new clients come in, I have a whole exercise, but we focus in on your big why. Why are you doing what you do? Why are you doing what you do? And what do you want to achieve by doing what you do? Right? And let me give you an example. So for when I first started Birdie's Kids in Motion, I started it because, quite frankly, I needed a job, I needed to make some money, and I didn't want to work for anyone else. I was over it. I was tired of working for other people and making them lots of money and not seeing the fruits of my own personal labor in the way that I knew I could. And so when I first started out and I started my studio, it was for that sole purpose, right? It was, I need to make some money. And I knew I had a certain skill set and I could go in and teach classes and do an amazing job and go ahead and take care of that. Because the truth of the matter is that when I started Birdie's Kids in Motion, oh my goodness gracious, how many years ago is that now? 12 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years ago. We were in a very different place. You know, my husband, he was needing to have heart surgery. And so I had to be the breadwinner because he was going to be off of work for quite some time to get his heart valve replaced. And so that was my big why. I'm like, I got to get us through this. We are a family and I got to take care of our family. Now, as we are a decade plus down the road, my big why is very different. And I could tell you that when I first started out, it was really about warm bodies. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I really needed to fill those classes. I just needed a warm body. Now, as things have evolved, I am really particular about who we work with, and they have to be my ideal clients. So it's okay for it to shift. And here's the thing, this is why I think it's so important for us to evaluate pretty consistently, because it's okay for our whys to change. You know, one of the big reasons, or my big why for doing a mobile studio at the time versus a traditional studio, was because our big why was about being home at nights and on the weekends with our kiddos and having dinner around the table. And for me at the time, I didn't see any way to make that possible with a brick and mortar. And so now, as my kids are getting older and they're not so tiny anymore and they're in lots of activities, obviously having dinner around the table isn't as easy as it once was. That being said, it is still an absolute priority in our family. And so for us, our big why was time with our kiddos, is putting food on the table, but things have shifted as not only the business has evolved and grown and done well, but as I have grown as a person. And so we have to identify our big why and our big goals to understand what our long game is. So I want to know in the comments, I would love to know today, I want us to share. I want us to lean in and I want us to share. I want to know, what is your long game? Right? What is your long game? Now, long game, there's a short game and there's a long game, right? I'm not a big sports person. You know, y'all know me. I mean, I love dance, I love yoga, I love going and being silly and have fun, but I'm not like a serious sports nut, right? I'm not. So I know some of these analogies and things are, you know, sports related, but I think that we all know dance is a sport too, but they may not they may land flat. Anyway, so my point is we have to know what our long game is, right? And so I want us to share. I would love to know, if you guys feel so inclined, I would love to know, what is your long game? Is your long game going into 2022 that you want to spend more time with your kids? Is your long game that you want to grow your studio to a certain student count, so then that way you have enough funds to hire somebody else and then you reduce your teaching hours? Is your long game that you actually want to step out from being in the classroom at all? What is your long game? And here's what's beautiful about this, y'all. And it goes back to why I do what I do, is that my long game and my unique vision of success can be absolutely polar opposite from yours. And that's okay. And that's okay. That's what it should be. We all should look into leaning into what it is that we really want. I talk to my clients sometimes about, just literally putting your hand on your heart saying, oh, I would love, what would make my heart so happy? What would bring me joy? Right? Why are we doing what we're doing? Because I can guarantee we're not doing it for crabby parents. And we're not doing it for people who don't see our worth. That's not what you'd love to see, right? So what is your long game? What is the why behind what you do? And what do you want to achieve from doing it? That's the first thing. So let me know. I want to know. Drop it in the comments. I want to know. What is your long game? Okay. Now here we have to get real. What are the micro tasks and shiny objects that steal your time? And here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to do. If y'all know me, I'm a list maker. Now I have a strategy to my list, but right now these are brain dump lists. So I want you to make 2 lists. I want you to make one list of all the micro tasks that you are doing in your business. Remember what I was talking about again? Lesson planning, choosing costumes, recital venues, admin, accounts receivable, accounts payable, paying bills, cleaning toilets. I want you to make a list of all of those micro, tiny little tasks that you're doing, right? Make a long list because it will allow us to see what tasks you're spending your time on that are not aligning with your long game, right? And then, y'all, you need to make a second list of those shiny objects that steal your time. What do I mean by shiny objects? Y'all, spending your time on the new latest and greatest thing you see on social media, right? So like, I'm going to give you an example. I've been there. I've done that. I've fallen into the trap, right? Let me tell you, when Clubhouse came out and I was like, ooh, this new social media platform, it'll be great. I'm hearing people getting great results from it as for coaching and consulting, not necessarily in the dance studio, but for coaching and consulting. And I'm like, ooh, I want to check this out. Let me tell you what, it stole a lot of my time. Stole a lot of my time and did not yield the results and did not align with my long game plan. Didn't, right? And this can come in the way of, like I said, it could be all sorts of things. It could be, choreography, lesson planning. It could be shiny objects. Should be, I'm going to watch this free training. I'm going to, right? And consuming all of these free digital products, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Y'all know I want you to spend some time learning and leaning in, but there has to be balance. It can't be left unchecked. It can't be, I'm just going to, all these shiny disco things. And here's the other thing, y'all. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel, right? Sometimes we think, we need to do it bigger and better, and it needs to be sparklier than last year, right? Those things steal your time and pull you away from your long game. I want to develop my praise dance program to reach more people. Yes. Okay. So we know that is your long game. You really want to do that. It fills your heart with joy, right? So we need to make sure that we're managing those micro tasks and those shiny objects, and we're not being derailed. We set our intention, We have an objective and we have to move forward with it. So I love that you shared that with us. Thank you so much. Because it kind of goes into the next thing. Make your long game visible, y'all. You have to make it visible. And what I mean by that is, one, thank you so much for learning out loud and sharing with us. But I want you to take it one step further. We have to make these long games visible where we could see them consistently. So you have to know you and how you operate. So this could be a vision board. It could be a notebook or a journal. It could be a whiteboard. It could be Post-it notes. Y'all know I love me some Post-it notes. And here's the thing. I have the same goal written on multiple Post-it notes in multiple places where I am going to see them, right? So I have one in my office. I have one on my laptop. I have one in my car on my dashboard. My screensaver on my phone, it's not my kids, y'all. It's not my kids. It's that long-term vision. Because my kids tie into it. Because my kids tie into it, right? So make it visible. Oh, I have a friend who does a vision instead of a vision board. I'm sure y'all know about vision boards, but I have a friend who does a vision mirror. And so she created this mirror and she writes it on the mirror. So she sees it in her own reflection and she's speaking it into existence. So we have to make it visible. We have to make it visible. Long-term goal to publish my curriculum and children's dance book to go with my classes. Yes! Yes, yes, yes. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. So as we go into the last two, 4 and 5, that we had talked about, I want us, the first thing is that actual ask, right? I want us to ask ourselves, does this task serve my long game? Does this task serve my long game? So when you find yourself doing something over and over, you feel like it's taking more time, or you feel like, why am I doing this? We need to take a look and say, does this task serve my long game? And if it's a no, we either need to stop doing it altogether, delete it. It's not something you need in your life or in your business. I'm going to give you an example in just a minute. Or we need to delegate it. We need to hire someone. We need to offboard it to somebody else. Right? Does this task serve my long game? Now, I'm going to be really honest with you. For me, it was lesson planning. I love lesson planning. It was so much fun to me. And I could find myself just, getting into it and going and da. But y'all, after 10 or 12 circus theme lesson plans, how many do you really need? How many do you really need? Right? And so I found that I was spending way too much time on lesson planning, and it was not serving my long game because I had already done the work. But I loved doing it. I loved lesson planning, and it was my escape from doing the really hard things that were going to serve my long game plan. So now, instead of me doing all the lesson planning, our team does the lesson planning together. And it's amazing because we have lots of different ideas and thoughts, and everyone jumps in, and it's so much fun, but it gets all done, and it's not just me doing it. And it frees up my time to focus on my long game. Yes, which does lead us into number 5. Decide. How can you make more time for your long game? Is it kind of the example that I gave, and that I had to make a decision. I wasn't going to just get caught in my lesson planning trap because I didn't want to do the hard things sometimes, or the not fun things that I knew were going to get me to my ultimate goal. Lesson planning was my escape from writing my chapters in my book. It was, because to me, writing chapters in a book was really hard. But I knew in my heart that I really wanted to write the Passion and Profit Project. And so I would lesson plan instead because it was just so much fun, right? So my decision was that I wasn't going to allow me to slip into that, and that I was going to turn this into an opportunity not only to share more and to have my team take on more, but to free up my time to actually set time aside to write those chapters in my book. Yes. Okay. And if your long game is you want to spend more time with your kiddos, how are you going to do that? You have to be intentional and absolutely block out the time for your long game. Because we get so bogged down and in the trenches with all of the things that we're working in our business and not on our business. I mean, raise your hand. How many times have you been there where all the tasks that you're doing are working just in your business, right? The lesson planning and the teaching and the, picking out costumes and doing all that. You're working in your business, but you're not working on the business, on the long-term vision, on your unique vision of success, on what is going to move the needle forward. How many times have we all, I've been there. My goodness, we've all been there, right? But we have to decide, we have to make the decision that we are going to actually block out time, be intentional about working on our long game. There's a great app called Simple Mind to help brain dump. Yes, awesome. I love it. Love it. So you have to know you. Thank you for that tip. So awesome. Because some people are totally digital type of people. I am not that gal. I am I like pen to paper. Or y'all know, I've been looking into the Remarkable because it's supposed to give you that feel of pen to paper, but it's all digital. So that might be in my future. Just saying. What's the best way you manage your time to make sure you make time for these tasks? Phone, calendar, sticky notes, planner. I have a hard time tracking when I can make time for each thing. Okay, so here's some tips for me and what works for me. Everyone operates a little bit differently. But for me, my first thing is I actually have a whole planning system. So I do know when I am doing what. And I'm very intentional about blocking time for certain things, because when our brain is switching back and forth between all the different tasks, we are not as productive and clear in the things that we want to do. So for me, I do love sticky notes. And I personally have a sticky note system inside my planner where I block out certain times and chunks, color-coded by Post-it notes, and allocate what I'm going to be working on. So, we have to do those tasks. We have to do the working on tasks. We can't just offload all of them. That's not realistic, right? For most of us, if you own a business and you own a dance studio, there are going to be tasks that you need to work on, right? So for me, we actually have multiple businesses. So I have to be really intentional about what it is that I'm doing, because y'all, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, right? And it's how we use those 24 hours. So, I am intentional with my blocking and my color coding, and I look at my long vision, my long game plan daily, right? And I make a decision that I'm going to do one thing, just one thing, every single day that will move the needle forward in my long game plan. It can be small some days. It might be a bigger project some days, right? But at least one thing a day that is going to help me move the needle forward. And I also have to tell y'all this. You have to know you. You have to know your family. You have to know where you're at, what season of life you're in. And for me personally, there were times in my life when my kiddos were younger that the best time for me to focus on that one thing might have been at 5 o'clock in the morning before they woke up. And yes, it meant me getting up at 4:30 in the morning, and who loves that, right? But I knew in that season of life that that's what I needed to do, right? Now, as my kids are older and they're both in school, right? I don't need to do those tasks necessarily at 5 o'clock in the morning. I can wait until after I get them to school and I can work on them then. I also know for myself that my brain does my best work from about 8 in the morning till 11 in the morning. That is when my brain produces the best work of the day. So I make sure to tackle those things, my one thing, first thing. Then later on in the day, when maybe my brain is tired, that is when I do those tasks that doesn't take a lot of brain power necessarily. It might be responding to emails. It might be, sending off a task to my team, those sort of things. But I know I've learned from myself that when my brain works the best. You guys, it might be midnight. I don't know, right? But you have to figure out what works best for you. What works best for you? And so the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is set an appointment with yourself. If that means putting an alarm in your phone, I know that I've done this with some of my clients. If they're like, this is really important to me, but I'm having a really hard time getting it done, I'm like, make an appointment with yourself. Set an alarm in your phone that says what that thing is, right? So if it's you want to visit your long game Tuesdays at 9 a.m., set an alarm on your phone. And when that alarm goes off, you stop everything else that you're doing and you do that thing. For most of us, this might be a truth bomb. I don't know. Y'all tell me. Y'all can tell me. If you value it, you will find a way. You will make it happen. And here's what I mean by that. Most of us, if our kiddos are sick and we make a doctor appointment for them, we value that doctor appointment and we are going to make it happen. We are going to get them there because we value it. We're not going to cancel the appointment. We're not going to just not show up. Yes, you have time for what you make time for. You get to choose. So you have to make a decision, right? That's what this is, decide. You have to make a decision. Do you value your bigger vision, your big why, your long game? Do you value that? When you plan your day, you make that the priority. Always. Always. I struggle with planning my tasks. I sit with my planner in my lap and think I can't remember. So I just work. Sorry, I'm reading this. So I just work and then miss the boat on optimizing my tasks because I struggle to plan them out. Okay. So that happens, right? We are trying to think of all the things that have to be done. right? This is where the never-ending to-do list comes in. And then we get sucked in this tornado of overwhelm and all the things that we have to do. And then we walk away and we're like, what do we even do? Right? This is why it's so important for us, and I say at least quarterly, to go through and pick out what are your big nuggets that you want to achieve, right? What's that big goal? And so if your big goal is, I want to write, I'm going to use my book as an example again. I want to write one chapter this month. Should be able to write a chapter a month. But anyway, I want to write one chapter this month, right? If I know that is my big goal, that's what I want to achieve, then guess what? I'm going to set a time to sit down and work on that. All the other little things, don't compare. They just don't. And here's where you also need to know where you're at in your season of life. I will unapologetically leave dirty dishes in my sink if it means that I am working on my long game. Or, when my kiddos were little and they say, Mommy, can you come play, dolls with me? And I'm like, oh, there's dishes in the sink. Guess what? I'm going to leave those dishes every single time. Because playing dolls with my girls or working on my long game plan is more important to me than those dirty dishes. We have to be able to prioritize. We have to be able to see the forest for the trees. We have to know and be smart enough to say, okay, I'm not trying to do all the things. I'm going to break it down into each little step. And then that way you're only focusing on that one thing. You're only focusing on that one thing. And we have to have realistic expectations, y'all. I know we all think that we're Wonder Women. I'm Wonder Woman, right? We all think that because you know what? We are. That being said, just because you can do all the things doesn't mean you should be doing all the things. So we have to decide what is important to us. And how does that align with my long game? And if you guys are enjoying this broadcast today, drop me some likes, some hearts, some love. And if you know a studio owner or a dance educator who needs to hear this message today, I want to invite you to share this with them, because I truly believe that there are more than enough students in the world to fill every studio out there, and that we're all better together. I really do believe that. And so that would be the greatest gift to me, for you to share this with someone who needs to hear this message. Because it's so easy for us to get bogged down in the day-to-day tasks that we forget to work on our business instead of just in our business. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love about working with my clients, is that they're taking the time to work on their business, and we are intentional about setting time aside to work on their business. And we have to, as studio owners, we have to set time aside for that. We have to set time aside to take care of ourselves first, right? Okay, so here's the deal, y'all. If you have loved this and you're not, for some reason, on our mailing list to get our blogs and to get information and thoughts and all the goodness that comes through our email list, I want you to drop a long game below, and we will send over to you how you can get on our email list. I absolutely adore our dance industry. I think we have the most amazing people inside of it, and we are better together in that through learning we get to make the world a better place. And so I feel so blessed to be able to work with so many amazing studio owners, and to be able to show up here every single Wednesday at noon Eastern and share with you guys, and hopefully bring value and even a little bit of joy. into your life every Wednesday. So, my friends, I'm going to leave you there. I will be back on next week at the same time, same place, right? For the Erin Burd Show Live, where we bring you tips and tricks and strategies for your business, a little bit of mindset work, and a whole lot of joy. So I'm going to leave you there, friends. And I absolutely adore you all. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. I absolutely love it. But I'm going to leave you all there. I hope that you have a fantastic week, y'all. And I will see you next Wednesday for another episode of the Erin Burd Show Live. Bye, my friends.